Here's a secret PS5 trick you have to know about. Are PlayStation's days numbered? The pricing structure for the next-gen version of GTA 5 has been revealed, and it's not that bad. Alright, so the saga of Rockstar Games and GTA 5 is continuing on, and things are kind of getting better, but they're definitely not where they should be. Things really came to a head last year when they released the GTA Definitive Trilogy, which really wasn't definitive at all. It had GTA 3, GTA Vice City, and GTA San Andreas, and no matter what game you played, because of the fact that they were really upscaled mobile parts, they did not look anywhere as good as even the original releases, and they had tons of bugs and issues. Honestly, they shouldn't have been shipped that way, and Rockstar should have done the ports in-house instead of hiring a mobile game developer to do it, because obviously their work was not up to snuff. On PC, they even had to go as far as giving refunds to people who bought it because the Rockstar launcher version was so absolutely broken, and on PS5, they've patched it, it's better now, but it's still really not where it should be, and that's a huge issue for a lot of people, because these are three of the best and most defining open world games of all time. I was really excited to go back and give them a try, but when it came out and I saw how absolutely buggy they were, I was like, I'm gonna wait a couple years and see if they actually end up fixing these, because a lot of these games were even struggling to hit 60 frames per second on the PS5, which is a joke. That's absolutely embarrassing for a bunch of PS2 ports that are barely upscaled from the mobile ports they already received. I don't feel like that's harsh at all, honestly, because yeah, again, these are PS2 games. And they're not even ground up remakes of PS2 games. They are literally upscaled PS2 games. And then when that controversy seemed like it was blowing over, we got the whole Save Red Dead Online thing, where people who play Red Dead Online are upset that Rockstar has not updated it in any meaningful way in a very long time. It's also full of bugs. It also pushes you towards microtransactions. It's having a lot of the same issues that GTA Online has, but on top of that, Rockstar doesn't support the game. And a lot of people think Red Dead Online is a lot more fun and more interesting than GTA Online. I agree. I love playing Red Dead Online. There's just nothing to do in it anymore, so it's not that fun. And then finally, instead of doing a cool teaser trailer or showing us some gameplay, they announced that they were working on GTA 6 in a tweet, which seemed incredibly desperate for Rockstar. And when you combine all of this, their reputation is the lowest I think it's ever been. But I think this news about the pricing structure for GTA 5 on next-gen consoles is going to improve their reputation just a little bit. The good news is, if you're playing on PS5, you're going to get a better deal out of the gate than Xbox players are, because you're going to get a 75% discount, while Xbox players are only getting a 50% discount. So that's pretty cool for PS5 players. Obviously, Xbox players are not happy about this. And what it really comes down to is the way the pricing structure for all of this works out. They're charging $40 for a brand new copy of this next-gen version, but for the first 3 months, there's a discount period in place. And I gotta read this off my phone. You're gonna have to forgive me here, because this is really confusing. Alright, so like I mentioned, the standard price for the PS5 and Xbox Series S and X versions is $40. The discount price, being 50% off on Xbox Series X and S, is $20, and on PS5 it's $10. But there's a tricky, kind of weird reason for that. It's really because of that announcement we got back around when the PS5 came out that Rockstar Games and Sony had made some sort of deal to make GTA Online free on the PS5. That's a $10 value, so somehow the math is shaking out where you're getting GTA Online for free on the PlayStation 5 for the first 3 months, and that's why they're only charging you $10 for the single player campaign. So yeah, if I was playing on Xbox, I'd be pissed, but PS5 owners are getting a pretty good deal here. The $10 upgrade you're getting is on par with what Sony's doing with its first party games, but I'm just gonna be absolutely real with you guys. I think this upgrade should be free. I got it when the PS3 version was upgraded to the PS4 version, because upgrading those games for free was actually kind of tricky. I think Ubisoft is the only developer who figured it out, and honestly, thinking back, they might have charged for those upgrades, but now that we're moving from the PS4 to the PS5 and there is full backwards compatibility in place and stuff like Smart Delivery and Sony's equivalent, which is just a free upgrade, there's really no excuse for this almost 10-year-old game to cost $40 as a new copy after that first 3 months, or even $10 as the upgrade, because a lot of people have noticed that the upgrades they're giving this version of the game still include a lot of the graphical bugs and issues they never went back and fixed from the PS4 version of the game, which is not great if you ask me. And on top of all of that, they are still making money hand over fist on GTA Online. People are running out, they're buying shark cards, they're spending so much money in GTA Online. Rockstar could definitely afford to make this upgrade free, and it seems really really weird and arbitrary that they're not. I got to assume that it's because they want to squeeze every last penny out of GTA 5 since it's one of the best-selling games of all time. Like, it's always topping the charts on the digital download list on the PS5. But yeah, I don't like this pricing structure at all. I think it's better than when we thought they were going to charge $70 up front for this, which would have been absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, $40 is still a bit too much for GTA 5 in my opinion. Anyway, so a few months back there was this promotion that PlayStation had with Apple TV where if you had an active PS Plus account, you would get 3 months of Apple TV Plus totally free. I actually logged in and used it. I have about 2 years of Apple TV Plus now because of my 2 iPhones and now this. I really like that streaming service. There's some really cool stuff on there. The Jason Momoa show C was kind of the first big thing they did, and it starts kind of shaky, but as it gets on in the story, it actually becomes a pretty cool show. Ted Lasso is one of everyone's favorite shows. I have not watched it yet. I'm not really big into sports comedy TV shows, but I might watch it soon. The big show that I think everyone should watch on there is Servant. It's from M. Night Shyamalan. I know he kind of had a rough few years always trying to top his twists, but after he put out The Visit and then Split and then Glass and then now Servant, he's been putting out some really cool stuff. So I highly recommend the show. It's pretty creepy, it's pretty interesting, and yeah, if you got that Apple TV Plus 3-month subscription, that is definitely enough time to go through the entire service and just watch everything good on there. And the cool thing is, while back then they were leaving PS4 people in the dust, now PS4 users are able to claim the same promotion. So yeah, if you go on the PlayStation Store and you download the Apple TV Plus app, you'll be able to activate a free 3-month trial, which is super cool because over on the Xbox side with Game Pass, they have promotions like this with Crunchyroll and Disney Plus and Discord Nitro. You're getting free stuff all the time with that Game Pass subscription, and I like that Sony is kind of thinking outside the box here. They're not looking at stuff like Disney Plus. They're looking at Apple and saying this is a prestige brand. They're putting incredibly high quality stuff on their service. We're making incredibly high quality games like Horizon Forbidden West on the PS5 and Gran Turismo 7, so we're going to team up with them and give our users who like quality content 3 free months of Apple TV Plus. That's the brand synergy I like seeing. And speaking of that free Crunchyroll subscription people were getting with Xbox Game Pass, I got a feeling that's going to end pretty soon because Sony actually owns Crunchyroll and they just merged them with Funimation, and I could definitely see that streaming service being a PS Plus perk in the near future. So yeah, even if you give it a passing glance and you don't see anything you really want to watch, I would still check out Apple TV Plus on the PS4. I mean, you already kind of paid for it with your PS Plus subscription. So if they're giving you a free subscription to it, make sure you grab that to maximize the money you're giving to them. Alright, so Elden Ring's been out for a few weeks now, and people, myself included here, really are absolutely loving this game. It is amazing top to bottom. I know the big thing everyone's saying is that it feels like Breath of the Wild for grown-ups, but when you actually play it, as annoying as that statement is, that's exactly what it feels like. Exploring this world, going off and doing whatever you want to grind up your soul level to go fight the bosses. I'm saying soul level because I'm a huge Dark Souls fan, but it's actually like rune level or whatever it's called in this game. Either way, it has the same mechanic where when you kill guys, you get souls or runes, and then when you die, you drop them, you can go back and get them. You get the mechanics of Souls games here. I don't need to prove my mettle. Anyway, I've really enjoyed exploring the world, and I love that this is just a straight up combination of the vibe of Bloodborne, Sekiro, and Dark Souls all mashed into one big game with some really cool bosses. And it seems like people are really loving it because if you look at the sales charts for this game, it seems to be selling more copies week over week, which is awesome. And PlayStation 5 is technically the best place to play it. On PC, there's insane stuttering. It's absolutely horrible to play. On Xbox Series X, you've got screen tearing unless you have a variable refresh rate display. Same thing with Xbox Series S. And then the best way, the absolute best way to play this game is by running the PS4 version on the PS5. It's honestly the only real way to get an absolute locked 60 frames per second out of this game at this point in time. So yeah, if you bought it on PlayStation, hopefully you bought that PS4 version and you're trying that one out if you really care about frame rates like I do. The one issue people seem to be having though is that there's no real way built in to pause the game. So if you pull up your inventory, if you pull up the map screen and you're in the middle of the open world, anything can just run up and attack you. And a lot of people are frustrated about this because Sekiro had a way to pause the game and it actually worked really well. And with a game like this, you're going to be playing it for hours and hours and hours on end. You're going to have to get up once in a while. So the only way being to pause it, I guess, putting your PS5 in rest mode. That is not ideal in any way, shape, or form. But the craziest thing here is there actually is a secret way to pause Elden Ring, and it is not a way you would ever find on your own. So I'm going to walk you through the steps right now. So at any point while you're playing the game, you're going to want to hit options and then pull up your inventory. When you're on the inventory screen, press the touchpad to open up the help menu, and this brings up a dialog box that has a few different options you can select. From that help screen, select menu explanation, and as long as you have that menu explanation screen up, the game world will be paused. No bears, no mosquitoes, no wolves, no skeletons, no weird witches, no knights. None of these people can run up and kill you while you're in this screen, which is good. Obviously, that's a pretty complex way to pause a game, and they should just go ahead and add in the feature, but it's good to know that that feature is there if you really need it. Like if you're in the middle of the open world and you see a bunch of enemies and I don't know, your DoorDash order arrived. Another way to pause the game and make sure no one can run up and kill you is to rest at a site of grace. As long as you're sitting there at that totally not a bonfire, you'll be totally fine. And then the third option you have to kind of pause the game, it's not going to pause it but nothing can kill you here, is to travel to the hub world. I'm not going to say what it's called in case some people haven't gotten there yet because I don't want to spoil anything. Obviously this isn't the biggest issue in the world, but it is affecting a lot of people, especially people who jumped in at Sekiro, which, let's be real, a lot of people jumped in at Sekiro because it was billed as a more accessible Souls game. As you get farther into that game, it obviously becomes extremely hard, but at the beginning it feels like a very accessible Souls game, so not being able to pause was weird for a lot of people. And yeah, From Software says they're working on fixing the performance. Hopefully they fix it for the PC users out there because that port is absolutely horrible. But yeah, I really want them to go back and fix the pop-in and make sure that the PS5 version runs at a locked 60 frames per second. I don't need it to run like that everywhere because the game is actually pretty well put together, but if you can get it as close to a locked 60 as possible with no pop-in, that's exactly what I want to see. Maybe even a graphics mode that runs at a locked 30, you know? So I'm sure you've seen this article going around that says PlayStation is not going to survive the next 10 years because of stuff like industry consolidation, where all these studios are getting bought up, and then other things like Game Pass really just making it too good of a deal not to play on PlayStation. And I'm just going to cut right to the chase here. I absolutely don't believe this to be the case. Sony has worked so hard building up the PlayStation brand over the PS3 and PS4 generations, and now the PS5 generation, making sure that if you want to buy a video game console, 9 times out of 10 you're going to go to the store and do your best to find a PlayStation 5. I mean, this console is outselling the Xbox Series X like 2-to-1, which is the same ratio it was outselling the Xbox One for most of the last generation. So yeah, I don't think Sony really has much to worry about here in terms of people suddenly waking up and wanting to buy an Xbox Series X over a PS5. I mean, even with stuff like Xbox buying Activision, you look at that deal and they had to come out and basically say, yeah, we're not going to make Call of Duty exclusive, which at that point it's like, why did you even buy Activision in the first place? They had to do that because the government was coming after them and basically saying this is going to create a monopoly because Call of Duty is the biggest franchise in the games industry. But they basically had to come out and say, no, in the future we are going to continue releasing games on PlayStation 5 in addition to the Xbox Series X, and that kind of takes all the wind out of the sails of buying Activision in the first place. And then on the other side of that, when Sony bought Bungie, everyone kind of assumed that going forward Destiny 2 would just become a de facto PlayStation exclusive, or if in the future they put out Destiny 3, that would be a PlayStation exclusive and never come to PC or Xbox. But right out of the gate, Bungie came out and said, nope, we're keeping all of our IP, Destiny included, going forward as a multi-platform game. Sony is totally helping us in that endeavor. We just want access to Sony Pictures to make Destiny a bigger IP, and Sony wants us to help them make live service games, and that just seemed like a really good deal. And when you look at the first party output of either company this generation, it is not even close by any metric. Sony's had stuff like Returnal, they've had Gran Turismo 7, they've had Demon's Souls, they've had Deathloop, which ironically is an Xbox game that was exclusive to PlayStation for a year and got more 10 out of 10s than pretty much any game that's come out over the past few years besides like Elden Ring. They had Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, they've got Horizon Forbidden West now, they've got God of War Ragnarok coming out at the end of the year, they've got 2 exclusive Spider-Man games with Spider-Man Remastered and Spider-Man Miles Morales, they've got another one coming with Spider-Man 2 that's adding in Venom, which is nuts, they've got a Wolverine game, and on the Xbox side, they have Psychonauts 2, which is really good, they have Forza Horizon 5, which is also great, and they have Halo Infinite. There's not a lot else on top of that as far as first party releases go. So when you compare the two brands, PlayStation is absolutely thriving, while Xbox literally has to sit there and push day one releases on Game Pass, which really just haven't turned out that good. I mean, did you guys see Crossfire X? That's one of the worst reviewed games of the past year. I'm not going to sit here and pretend Sony's perfect perfect, because they're definitely not. There's a lot of things I think could be better on the PlayStation 5, like including variable refresh rate or 1440p support, or not doing weird things like where you disappear without release dates for a long time, or out of nowhere have a state of play that really just showed off a bunch of games we either A, already knew about, or B, didn't really need to see in a state of play in the first place. You know, that could have been a much better state of play. But when I compare my PlayStation 5 to my Xbox Series X, there is a clear winner in terms of having great games to play, and that is the PlayStation 5. And yeah, the biggest game of 2022, Elden Ring, runs the best on PS5, even though through a technicality where you have to run the PS4 version, but still, the PS5 native version runs really well too. So yeah, is the PS5 going to go away in 10 years? I'm sure it could, but it would take a catastrophic failure on Sony's part for that to happen, or just an extremely huge move by Microsoft. Like if after this Activision deal goes through, they turn around and say, psych, we are going to keep Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox. We got you, US government, and I guarantee you that is very illegal and probably won't happen. So I don't think it's anything to worry about. But yeah, the long story short here is that if you've seen this article going around and it made you nervous that you made the wrong decision buying a PS5 and it's got you second guessing if you haven't been able to find one yet, I would not put any stock into this. If you were excited to get a PS5 and you don't have one yet, stay excited. And if you got a PS5, do not let this guy make you feel buyer's remorse, because I think Sony's going to be just fine, and so is the PlayStation brand.